the first major news that shook the world, literally, was the news of assassination of Hamas political leader, Ismail Haniyeh.
The timing, the choice of location, and the method and manner in which this assassination took place in the heart of Tehran indicates three possible interests of those who are responsible for this action. Don't you think Washington and Tel Aviv share a common objective and interest of embarrassing and weakening Tehran?
US has always supported Israel, but Israel is making efforts, making it very difficult every day for American policymakers to support them.
What are the options that, in your view, Tehran actually has to respond to this action?
They have declared that we will retaliate, we will take revenge. This should be a major wake-up call for Iranian establishment. They have miserably failed. It's a massive intel failure.
What sort of stance you expect from the Muslim world in general and Pakistan in particular on this issue? There are some very interesting narratives which received a lot of attention recently, which alleged that Pakistan's senior military leadership have successfully infiltrated
600.
Yes, 600 of them.
Entering Jammu Valley.
In Jammu Valley. Why would one fine morning Pakistan send 600 commandos inside Indian occupied Kashmir?
My gut feeling is to keep anti-Pakistan part boiling. It's easy for us Pakistanis to talk about it, but forget us. Even no regional or global credible media outlet gave it any importance. So this was a foolish attempt on their part, I think.
This is a huge failure of almost 1 million men under arms who are deployed in Indian occupied Kashmir. It makes sense why the international media and community take such allegations with a pinch of salt.
With a fresh episode of The Weekend, I am Murtaza Solangi.
And I am Muhammad Ali.
Shaji, we sit here every week and try to look at what has happened a few days back and what's about to unfold. Early Wednesday morning, as we turned on TV or looked at our small screens that we normally look at these days, the smart devices, the first major news that shook the world, literally, was the news of assassination of Hamas political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, who usually lives in Doha, Qatar, but was in Tehran to attend the oath-taking and inauguration of the new Iranian president, getting killed right in the heart of Tehran. And this has been talked about all over the world, including Pakistan, how that happened, what its implications are globally, regionally, and on Iran itself, and also in the backdrop of US presidential election. So what are your thoughts?
Murtaza, the timing, the choice of location, and the method and manner in which this assassination took place in the heart of Tehran indicates three possible interests of those who are responsible for this action. The real target is not merely the elimination of Palestinians from their lands, or occupation of Gaza, as is commonly believed. But in my assessment, the assassination of the political leadership of Hamas indicates the real war objective of Israel is to dismantle Hamas not just militarily, but also politically, and fragment its structure. Because Ismail Haniyeh was also spearheading the international diplomatic and political efforts to gain sympathy and support, not just military assistance for Hamas. So his assassination is a huge dent to Hamas' ability not just to gain military assistance, but also gather political and diplomatic support from around the world. The second aspect is the location and the timing and the method in which this event took place. That also indicates that the strategic objective of Israel was not merely to bring about a change in the Hamas leadership, but to embarrass Iran in front of all the non-state actors which seek support from Tehran. That the message, the strategic signal is that if the leadership of those organizations are not safe in the heart of Tehran, then how can they expect support from Iran while fighting Israel? That is the second message. The third message is also very significant in terms of intelligence warfare. According to the latest New York Times story, in which it cited 7 different sources, both Iranian and Israeli, the most plausible theory of how this assassination took place was based on planting of an explosive device in the very room in which Ismail Haniyeh has always stayed, despite very stringent and strict security of Pasdaran-e-Inqilab and IRGC. And according to the latest reports, this device was planted months ago. So this intelligence and security breach is a huge embarrassment, which is a signal to Iran that the Israeli intelligence organization, Mossad, is keeping a close eye on all the political and military leaders of its opponents and can strike with impunity. But another factor which I would like your comment on is its timing in the context of the upcoming US elections. Do you think the timing of this act represents an opportunity of choice for Israel, or do you think you expect some pressure from Washington after this action, which could destabilize Middle East further?
Let me answer your first question first, and then add my 2 cents worth assessment of this situation. This has really shocked and hurt a US presidential campaign on both sides. Number one, it has hurt Biden administration. I'm sure you remember when just few days back, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu came to US Congress and he got a lot of ovation. Vice President Kamala Harris chose to stay away from that proceedings, the hearing. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, too, stayed away. And Kamala Harris gave a statement that we will not watch this Gaza thing silently, hinting that her policy would not be so soft on Netanyahu style of Israeli politics. And on top of that, this current strike has put them in an embarrassing position. Now you have seen even Biden coming out and saying this has created complications, and this has affected the relative tranquility or peace, whatever that is left off after Gaza. So it has put them in a difficult position.
But let me quickly ask you a question which you can elaborate further in your assessment. Don't you think Washington and Tel Aviv share a common objective and interest of embarrassing and weakening Tehran and sort of reducing its influence over several non-state actors that it supports in the Middle East? Don't you think the reduced trust by the non-state actors in Tehran's ability to support and secure them indirectly advances U.S. interest?
That's true. You're right about it. But let's, reverse our gears a few months and couple of years back. What was U.S. trying to do? What U.S. was trying to do was to embrace Gulf countries, create a liaison and relationship with Israel, Abraham Accords and this. And they were creating a situation as if Muslim worlds were going to recognize Israel, and Palestinians would be pushed to accept a shameful surrender to Israel and take this occupation as fait accompli. That was the situation before this October Gaza crisis when it started. Now, where are those Gulf countries now? No country worth their salt can afford to go to that situation. So that Abrahamic Accord and this all this new coalition building of Muslim countries was actually aimed at isolating Iran. Diplomatically. Now the reverse has come true. So this is a major failure of US policy. So on one hand, US has always supported Israel, but Israel is making efforts, making it very difficult every day for American policymakers to support them. So that is the problem. And this problem has deteriorated, has worsened after Israel's massive, brutal, disproportionate attacks all over the Palestinian areas, including Lebanon, and extending this war theater. And this has happened in the new media arena where social media dominates the TV idiot box.
So what you are saying makes me understand that perhaps the excessive and frequent use of hard power by Israel has cost the US dearly in terms of its soft power, particularly in the Muslim world and the Middle East. But do you think the Biden administration and the emerging preeminent presidential candidates can afford this price that the US is paying of tolerating the Israeli belligerence in this region?
Well, as we move forward towards US presidential race, we have yet to see the first debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who is trying to drag his feet somehow on one or the other pretext, but they would have to have this, as I understand. We will see both parties and both leaderships would assess how much they can change on this Israeli situation. It also has a lot of bearing on what Iran does before US presidential election.
Let's discuss that quickly. What are the options that, in your view, Tehran actually has to respond to this action?
Well, as you too have seen the news reports coming out of Tehran, officially and unofficially, they said, we shall retaliate. We will avenge this attack, which is, as you rightly said, it's not just attack on Hamas. It's actually attack on Iran, and to instill fear in the proxies of Iran, to discourage them to have this relationship with Iran. So it has many, purposes. But what I want to say is they have declared that we will retaliate. We will take revenge. However, the timing, the extent, the location, the intensity of that retaliation would greatly affect the US presidential election. For example, my humble position is, if Iran delays it for less than 100 days, because there are less than 100 days before the US election, the impact and the victimhood mood would actually hurt pro-Israeli sentiments in the US. It will embolden the mood in America on both sides not to go, this gung-ho attitude in supporting Israel.
So that means that Iran also faces three dilemmas. The first off, at the public level, at the international level, face saving to sort of avenge this embarrassment. Secondly, not to provide US and the Western powers a strategic opportunity to use Iranian reaction to further isolate and weaken it, and support Israel more militarily, diplomatically, economically. And the third, retain the trust of those organizations which rely heavily on Tehran's support to wage their campaigns against Israel. So I think the choice of target, the method and manner in which Iran will retaliate will be based on these three factors. Because I think one particular challenge that their strategic planners in terms of target face, that they lack a similar penetration within the Israeli political and military leadership circles, which Mossad has exploited. And secondly, if they go for a proportionate and similar target for a high-value political or military leadership of Israel, it might not have the desired public reaction. In contrast, if they go for indirect strategy using, again, their sympathetic groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, or Houthis, it will again not strengthen and repair the trust that their followers and sympathizers expect from them. However, if they go for a direct conventional attack, similar to the one they carried out earlier, using a few hundred drones and missiles, that was good optics. That was good for optics. That gained a lot of media coverage, showed and demonstrated Iranian resolve. But strategically and militarily, it did not achieve anything in terms of significant damage being caused to the Israeli leadership and capability.
It actually emboldened Israel. Look at our defense capabilities. Look at our resilience. The hundreds of attacks came and did nothing.
But my last question on this topic before we move to another topic is that what sort of stance you expect from the Muslim world in general and Pakistan in particular on this issue?
I'll tell you, but let me just wear a cap of Israelis or Netanyahu. If I am Netanyahu, what would I expect or want from Iran to do? I would want them to encourage Iran to attack now or in few weeks before US elections. This is what they would want. Whether it really hurts Israel or not, that's a different matter. But if I put myself in the shoes of Israelis, I would want them to attack now so it impacts the US presidential campaign and creates a pro-Israel sentiment so powerful that it supports one or the other candidate, and whoever wins comes out again with a strong pro-Israeli rhetoric. Because if you have noticed, after October, the mood in the young people of America is different. More and more young Americans are thinking, why are we supporting Israel and their genocidal, brutal policies? How does it help US interests? Does it or doesn't? So this would be an important thing, but few more cents of my,
wisdom,
thought process. This should be a major wake-up call for Iranian establishment. They have miserably failed. It's a massive intel failure. And it also talks a lot about that if you create a strong authoritarian state, this disenfranchises your people and creates windows to look towards states like Israel. I mean, this failure would not be possible if they would not get any domestic support. So there is a constituency in Iran that's heavily against the Iranian establishment. So they would have to think on tightening and improving their intel systems. At the same time, look at what are their weak points, number one. Number two, the choice of Ismail Haniyeh. Ismail Haniyeh was not the military leader. He didn't lead this Gaza attack in October. It's Yahya Sinwar who leads. And a lot of time there's a factional fighting even within Hamas, the groups within. He was the peacemaker. He was the glue that tied rival factions even within Hamas. Now look, on one hand, Beijing was hosting rival Palestinian groups to unify them.
We discussed that last time.
Yes. Here, Israel, by attacking Haniyeh, is hurting that unity within even Hamas.
But you made a very important point that indirectly, not just this attack has hurt the standing and trust of Tehran, but also the Chinese efforts at trying to influence the peace efforts and bringing different factions together and emerge as a peace builder within the Middle Eastern region. So this attack has probably harmed or dented the Chinese diplomatic efforts.
It has hurt Chinese, it has hurt Russians, it has hurt that emerging new bloc, it has hurt Iran heavily, and somehow discouraged its proxies who relied heavily on Iran, that if Iran cannot protect itself within Tehran, how would they help us? So it has actually jolted them. But $1 million question is, has it hurt Hamas and its capability? My answer is no, because Haniyeh was not leading the military effort. It's somebody else, as I said.
So what I understand from your argument is that perhaps this could force Hamas to expect less from the diplomatic efforts and rely more on the military activity against Israel.
The immediate impact of this assassination, when Israelis signed the death warrants of Ismail Haniyeh, they also signed the death warrants on that so-called peace process and negotiation process for the release of hostage and all that. So this also has another impact. So it's all, who can talk about negotiations? No country, no Qatar or any country would now volunteer in this situation. Yes, so this has also...
From Palestine, let's move to another very important conflict zone in South Asia, closer to our home, Kashmir. There are some very interesting narratives which received a lot of attention recently, which alleged that Pakistan's senior military leadership and special services group commandos have successfully infiltrated
600.
Yes, 600 of them. And I think infiltration is an understatement. They should use the term invasion. 600 commandos is not an infiltration.
Yeah. Entering Jammu Valley.
In Jammu Valley. So what's your take on that? Why would one fine morning Pakistan send 600 commandos inside Indian occupied Kashmir?
Well, while many pro-BJP TV channels like Republic, they flashed those hyperventilating and screaming on top of their lungs, making this 600. They counted not 601, not 599, 600. So this is simply laughing stock, what they created.
No, but on a serious note, why is this a laughing stock? I mean, was there some attendance going on, or who was counting the commandos, and how do they know where they infiltrated from? And if they knew, why didn't they prevent them?
My gut feeling is to keep anti-Pakistan pot boiling after this election, where Modi has humble pie on his face, all this ab ki baar 400 par or 300 par, whatever that slogan was, that didn't come to fruition. So to me, it looks like one of the options is to keep that pot boiling and create some kind of xenophobia and support for Mr. Modi. Other than that, I can't think of. I don't have any other information. But the very fact that no world powers, no global media gave it, any importance, even no BBC, CNN, or any other networks gave any importance to this propaganda, despite the fact that India is the strategic partner to contain China. It suits their interest, but at least no major credible media gave it an importance. It's easy for us Pakistanis to talk about it, but forget us. Even no regional or global credible media outlet gave it any importance. So this was a foolish attempt on their part, I think.
But it makes me think on two further aspects of this interesting and somewhat amusing narrative. Number one, despite the economic and somewhat intellectual emergence of India on the world stage, which is a reality, I think the Indian media and those who push such narratives, I think underestimate the acumen and intellect of very well-educated Indians themselves to buy these arguments. Because 600 commandos from Pakistan, as if somebody was counting them, and then, it seems as a poor effort aimed at presenting the Kashmir's indigenous freedom struggle, which is UN recognized, as a Pakistani-sponsored agenda. Whereas in reality, you know very well, India has failed to produce before United Nations or any international body a single Pakistani officer or soldier in almost 30 years as an evidence to support this allegation. Secondly, if 600 Pakistanis and Pakistani commandos infiltrated, if at all they did, this is a huge failure of almost 1 million men under arms who are deployed in Indian-occupied Kashmir. And the third factor is that you talk about barbed wires, you talk about mining, you talk about high-tech intelligence gear. I think what use all that huge investment from the Indian taxpayers' money is being wasted on the lion's share of Indian armed forces, and they are incapable of preventing, detecting, and eliminating a few hundred soldiers. So I think it makes sense why the international media and community takes such allegations with a pinch of salt. And despite Indian convergences and improved relations with the West.
While they have been caught with their pants down in Canada and US trying to kill Sikh leaders.
And very interestingly, it's important that you brought it up. In case of the individuals found to be involved in attempted murder of US citizens, this information was shared by the US Department of Justice.
Correct.
It is not coming from independent media or private media.
Not coming from Pakistan.
It is coming from Department of Justice, which means that they have tangible legal evidence of Indian involvement in attempted murder of US citizens. And you compare that with such ridiculous narratives. But
I have something to say. I think we have focused and spent quite time today on global and regional issues. There are burning issues on Pakistan, but I think we have run out of time. Let's have a special episode on what's brewing in Pakistan and the issues of political instability and economic. So we'll have a special podcast on Pakistan soon. I think we should say goodbye to this episode of the weekend and see you next week.
Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
Keep watching this program every week. Thank you so much.